Hey, welcome to the Wax About It podcast, where we uncover all of the behind-the-scenes action of waxing and much more. I'm your host, Ausha Marie, an entrepreneur in the ever-growing field of waxing, skincare, and hair removal. What's up, y'all? I'm back like I never left. It's me, surprise. Here I am. So really quick, I just want to thank all the new listeners that have found this podcast. You guys have been showing up and following and commenting and sharing and posting. And I just really appreciate the support and the love. And it just gives me that fire to keep going and keep shedding light on the behind the scenes action of waxing. So as you might know, we are doing a series. It's the Wax Horrors. So I just want to make it known that before I get started, if you're not already, I would highly recommend, please subscribe to this podcast on Apple, on Spotify, or wherever else you listen to your podcast on. Subscribe so that you are the first to know when a new episode drops. Go ahead and rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify as well. That really helps me out and helps get the podcast out and just spreads and sheds light on what we got going on here. So thank you so much for doing that. Okay, now let's get into it. I want you to know that there are horror stories out there about getting waxed, right? But as waxologists, we hear some of the most scandalous, juicy gossip stories, true stories all the time. And so most of the time, if not all the time, the wax room is a very safe space. The only time it's not a safe space is if we are made aware of some type of trafficking or, something inappropriate like that, where we have to actually report that stuff. But outside of that, though, it's a safe space for our clients because a lot of times they view us as some type of alternative form of unconscious therapy. So if you're not a good listener, you're probably not going to be a good waxer. I'm just being honest. So that being said, I got some juicy stories for you. So I have to thank my wax community for this because, as you know, there's groups for everything, right? There's groups for waxers, there's groups for estheticians and beauticians and stylists and all that stuff. So I'm part of a wax group, and I did ask this question to them, so they all know that they shared their story to me. So I'm going to share it to you all. So basically, I said, what's the most scandalous, juicy gossip a client has ever told you, right? And this is what I found. So one person actually shared with me that she knows somebody who actually accidentally on purpose almost killed her husband. Let's explain. I know a lot of you like little thrillers, so this is going to be an almost murder mystery here. So basically what she wrote is, he was a horrible alcoholic husband and came home drunk. She said he was loud and obnoxious and always peed everywhere and woke the kids up. I don't know. This particular time, he passed out on the couch and was snoring so loud, she could not stand it. So you know what she did? This woman went into the kitchen, grabbed the first thing she found under the sink, it came back in the room and sprayed it in his mouth, threw it under the bed and fell asleep. Y'all see where this is going, right? So the next morning, he came in saying he was sick. His throat hurt and was all red and inflamed. So she told him he was out drinking, so who knows what happened. Freaking out though, she looked under the bed and found a can of oven cleaner. When he left, she packed her kids up and filed for divorce that very day. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at that, but So, side note, she was a court reporter, so she had great stories. Having her own great story, this is very interesting. Have you ever almost accidentally on purpose almost killed your spouse before, people? Is that a thing when you get married? Because that kind of makes me not want to get married. I don't want to feel like I want to kill my spouse, with oven cleaner and spraying it in his mouth while he's sleeping and snoring because he goes out and drinks all night. You know what? That's probably the icing on the cake for her, because if she filed the next day, she had already been thinking about doing it. So that was just, I guess, maybe her outro. It's crazy. Here's another one. It says, well, my client was having her first bikini wax. She proceeded to tell me that her husband was a well-known pastor of the community. Uh-oh. She said they never had sex anymore, and she didn't know why she was getting a bikini wax. Her next appointment, she came all lit up. I asked her how she was and told her she looked great. She said, yes, I got myself a Frenchman. Ooh, jeez. Scandal. A scandal is afoot. Does anybody watch Bridgerton? I love that show. Okay, I know I'm late, but I'm in the middle of season 2, so I don't know how far I am to the end, but it's a scandal if I've ever heard one before. You know what? I hear some of the craziest stories about pastors, and I honestly didn't know where this story was going. I thought it was going to be about him, but it's about her. That's interesting. I'm telling you, man, we get some juicy stuff, man. I feel bad for that guy, though, but, you know, I guess that's that. So this one is kind of an inspirational one. It's not really it kind of is a horror, but I'm just going to read it to you. And I just want to say before this, if you could relate to this, just know that, like, if you are ever going through any kind of domestic violence or anything like that, like, you are strong enough to get out of it. You are strong enough to move forward. You are worthy enough to just be with yourself. If you want to find someone else in the future, you can totally do that. But sis, or whoever I'm talking to, like, don't let that be your be-all, end-all. You do not deserve to suffer through that. I'm just saying. So take that as a sign. If you're going through it, listen. You know, you might feel weak right now, but you are strong enough. Okay, let's read this story. All right, it says, I just recently had a client who went MIA for a good 2 months. So she gets on the table and her inner thigh knee area is all bruised and bandaged. She opened up to me and told me she's been an alcoholic since she can remember. And 2 months ago, she was wasted and drove home from a bar and had to pee. So she pulled over, took her pants off, and proceeded to pee on the side of the road. Well, she never put the car in park and the car ran herself over. She managed to get herself free and drove herself to the hospital. Jesus. She is now in recovery with over 2 months sobriety. I explained to her that I too am in recovery for 3 years sobriety and things happen and this is a judgment-free zone. She hugged me and cried. Now I understand why we as professionals have to take that domestic course to better understand our clients and to spot if something is wrong. They confide in us as therapists. Some of my clients are better friends than my actual friends. Listen, I loved this comment. Like, I can relate to this so much because having consistent clients, I mean, yes, it's about having a stable income, but it's also about building a bond. I'm just going to speak for me because I'm a woman, and like having a bond with other women, especially now that I'm a mom, like having that bond with these other women. And I don't need anything else from them. Like, I don't need to go out and have drinks. I don't need to go out and do anything. Like, just having that moment with them and having that conversation within those 30 minutes or 15, however long it is, like that is fulfilling to me. And it's not just me. Like, I feel like we all do this because we want to be in a space where we are healing or spreading some type of positivity in some way. I'm telling y'all, man, waxing is not just waxing. Like, we're here to relate to you, okay? But one thing I really like about this story is that this woman was brave enough to share it with somebody, as embarrassing as it probably was. She literally ran herself over. How do you lead with that? Like, yeah, man, the worst thing that ever happened to me, I ran myself over. Dang, like, you really shouldn't be drinking, though. Like, that's crazy. But good for her that she's been sober for 2 years. Good for the waxologist who was sober for 3 years. Okay, listen. Because from what I hear, that is not easy. But yes, she said something that is very true. It's a judgment-free zone. So yes, for that. Oh, Lord. Okay, this one's a scandal afoot. Okay, this one says, okay. Last year, my daughter's dad and his wife were separated. She said she left him because she found out he was still talking to his quote-unquote girlfriend. A bunch of nonsense happens, and his wife ended up taking him back. My daughter comes home one night saying she's excited to get her new baby sister and tells me that daddy did Okay, fuck this story. I don't have time for this. Just take that part out. Next. Okay, here's a witty one. All right, this one reads, I have a client that's an RN. She works at a surgery center and preps patients for surgery by giving them IVs. And in her words, if you have a uterus, you get a pregnancy test. Oh, gee. One of her female patients that had come in for surgery got a positive pregnancy test, and my client had to throw the news to her that she couldn't get the surgery that she had waited for so long for, but congratulated her on being pregnant. Her patient was crying uncontrollably and was inconsolable. My client felt bad that the patient was so upset, but asked if there was someone she could call to pick her up. When my client looked at her patient's emergency contact and saw a woman's name, she said, I can call woman's name for you. Who's that? Her patient replied back, that's my wife. Ooh, scandal is afoot. All right, so if you're digging through, trying to figure out what's going on with this story, okay, I think what had happened was this lady was pregnant, obviously didn't know it. She was married to a woman, got pregnant, obviously, by a man or some type of sperm that came from nowhere, quote unquote. Didn't plan to. And now she's shocked. I wonder how long ago that was. I wonder if she had the baby. I have so many questions, but you know what? I think everything happens for a reason. Listen, I don't know who that baby is, but he or she was probably meant to be born. All right, here we go. So it says, spring 2021. Did a girl's brows in Brazilian for prom, and she didn't come back that year. I remember really liking her, and she was sweet. She came back the beginning of this year, and turned out I didn't see her again because she got in a car accident after prom and was in a coma for 2 weeks. She had to heal from brain damage before going back to school or work. Best part, she told me she woke up from her coma smooth and hairless and said she would do it for the rest of her life. Wow. I think I commented on this one. I said, wow. Wow, what a story. That is a blessing and a new loyal client. Amen. That must have made her feel so good in such a tragic time. Could you imagine, getting into a car accident and then you're in a coma? You don't even know how long you've been in a coma for. You wake up, it could be 2 weeks later, 2 years later, but you look, well, not 2 years. Okay, sorry. But okay, 2 weeks later, and look down and you're still smooth down there? Or, I guess she did her eyebrows in Brazilian. Okay, yeah. And you're still smooth down there? That's okay, reassuring. Okay, too much time hasn't passed by. I'm still smooth. That's one less thing I got to worry about, okay? Especially being in the hospital and people probably seeing you naked or whatever because they have to help you bathe and stuff. I know that's probably not the time to worry about hair and body hair and stuff, but I'm pretty sure it's comforting to know that, you can be a little less embarrassed because you don't have to worry about anything being there that you don't want there. So there's that. Okay, here we go. I had 2 clients that both came to me. Client A got pregnant by Client B's boyfriend, and Client B worked at the OBGYN that Client A was going to, and obviously broke HIPAA by looking at if she was going there and for what. So Client B asked me if Client A was really pregnant and if I knew who by. Okay, let me back this up really quick because the accent was throwing me off. Okay, Client A, we're going to call her Mindy, got pregnant by Client B's boyfriend. So let's just stop right here. This waxologist is seeing 2 people, 2 women. One has a boyfriend who is cheating on her with a whole nother client. Let's call her Mandy. So Mindy and Mandy both come to me to get waxed. I know Mindy and I know her boyfriend. I also know her boyfriend is also messing with Mandy. Good Lord. I would feel like I'm in the middle. But anyway, okay, so basically, Mandy got pregnant by Mindy's boyfriend and, oh shit, hold on. Client A got pregnant by Client B's boyfriend and Client B, oh God, okay. Let's use different names. Let's say Mindy and Sally. That's not fun. Okay, let's say So Pinky got pregnant by Green's boyfriend, and Green worked at the OBGYN that Pinky was going to. Oh my gosh, this is so messy already. Okay, so back to the story. The waxologist says, I, of course, told her I had no idea if she was pregnant, and she always just fell asleep, which was a lie because I knew who she was pregnant by. I legit had to make sure they didn't get scheduled near each other. I was so scared. Okay, client B, who's Green. Green definitely knew. And now the boyfriend passed away. So sad. I don't see them anymore. I hope they squashed what they had. Dang. That's the only thing about these stories. Like sometimes you never really get you don't get to find out the last part of it. Yeah, she definitely felt like she was in the middle of it. Goodness gracious. She had to make sure they didn't get scheduled. Okay, so what would you do? Like if you were a waxologist and you had two clients who were messing with the same dude, and like what happens if they both did book on the same day? Like what would you do? Would you like try to reschedule one of them and like make something up? Or would you just warn one of them? Like what would you do? Honestly, y'all, it's not my business. I wouldn't say nothing. I mean, I don't know. That's crazy. I mean, you can't not say nothing because you don't want them to fight, but you also don't want to get into their mess either. Ay. Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to just leave off with that one. I'm going to just leave y'all with that because I don't know what I would do. Y'all know us. We know y'all. You know what you can tell us and what we can listen to, right? I mean, it is what it is. You need somebody to talk to. You don't want to hold all that stuff in. I just want to say also that by me reading these stories, it doesn't mean that, everything you tell us is going to be shared with someone. First of all, I want to also mention nobody in this feed mentioned any names, okay? That's the discreet part of it. This is all just for our sense of community and sanity and, just having someone to talk to from our end. Because if you know anything about serving or customer service or serving clients, you know that, there's a lot of energy going back and forth and around and here and out, in and out energy, constant energy flow. So a lot of times, like, we have to soak up energy like a sponge, because if you're telling us intimate details or if you're venting to us or, anything like that, like we're soaking that energy up. I'm just giving y'all the scoop, okay? This is how it really is and how it really feels. So anyway, thanks y'all for listening. I love sharing these stories with you all. There's so much more. I'm not even going to lie. It's just too much for me to read through at this point in time. But I had to get on here and share something with you guys because I just thought that those particular stories were very, very interesting. I mean, if I get any updates, y'all, I'll let you know. But for now, that's all we got. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you found value in this episode, share it with a friend. Share it with your waxologist. I dare you to share this podcast with whoever waxes you. Or if you're a waxer already, I dare you to share this with a coworker or share it with one of your clients who just loves podcasts, and y'all could talk about it. I know sometimes it feels like we run out of stuff to talk about, but that's okay because there's always something that we can wax about. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye. Oh, and we can get social too. Follow us on Instagram @waxaboutit or Facebook @waxaboutit. And, we can wax about it.